Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about one of the things that I do, and that is to survive. And one of the things that I'm into in surviving is self-defense. And I'm having a hard time getting people to understand what self-defense is. If you've been watching my videos, just about all of them is how to make friends and how to get along and all this kind of stuff. And the reason is I'm trying to avoid having to use self-defense. I'm very good at what I do in self-defense, and I don't like to use those particular skills. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. So I'm going to try to explain a little more about what's the difference between self-defense, fighting, gunfighting, martial arts, all this kind of violent stuff, because I'm not into violence. It's really not violent. It's destructive, yes, and but it's only used, like I say, for self-defense. And there's many people that are into violence, and since they're into violence, they tend to think that they're an expert at violence. It's kind of like somebody, I've done gun shows before. And I'll tell you, the thing that's funny at a gun show is someone buys a gun and then they think, hey, they can defend themselves, so hey, that's good. But it's the same kind of attitude when you find people that think they know what self-defense is. And the people that do not know what self-defense is military, police, and bandits, criminals, this type of stuff. They basically use the same type of tactics. And this is what I want to talk about. The tactics is what makes the difference. In self-defense, there's only one tactic, and that is when someone is about to harm you, then you perform what you know to be self-defense. Okay, now military, police, and I'm going to call them bandits, because that's what I deal with a lot of, is bandits. And that's because they're organized, not quite as good as military and police, but they're still organized. In other words, they don't get into a violent situation until everything is just right. I mean, they're well armed, they've practiced what they're going to do and all this stuff, and then they go in and they do whatever it is that they're going to do. And this is why practicing self-defense is really difficult, because the first thing that's against you, and one of the biggest advantages, is surprise. And that's because when it's self-defense, it's usually a surprise. Wait a minute, I need to restate that. If it's not a surprise, it is not self-defense. In other words, self-defense, you don't make the situation happen. Unlike military, police, and bandits, they, like I say, they don't move in until they're about ready, and they're set up and ready to do what they got to do, and then they go do their thing. And so they allow the preparation to go in. So they really don't know self-defense. So the tactics they use in their training does not even come close to what is used in self-defense. You think, well, a gun, well, they know how to use a gun, you shoot the target and all this kind of stuff. Okay, that's the difference right there, is they practice with the gun shooting targets. It's called target shooting. And then as they all prepared, and then they go and do their thing. They go in, and then they have certain procedures, all of them, police, military, and bandits, on who they're going to shoot. You know, I mean, the person has to act a certain way, do a certain thing or something like that before they're going to shoot or use any type of violence. There's a certain protocol that they have to follow before they move to violence. And so their training is set up for this type of protocol. And in self-defense, there is no protocol. You're getting ready to get hurt or killed, so you will do what you have to do. See, that's the difference. And that's why you hear me talk about it in my videos. I can't do anything wrong, because once I do something wrong, now I fall into the parameters of police and military. You know, their procedures cannot do something to somebody that doesn't do anything wrong. So as long as I don't do anything wrong, then they have no power over me. They can't use their violent acts. Okay, now if they choose to use those violent acts, that's because they've gone beyond their procedures. Because I haven't done nothing wrong. Okay, now bandits, you know, they got really simple procedures. You know, give me your money, you know, give me this, let me rape you, let me do whatever it is they're going to do. You know, so, you know, in other words, it's pretty cut and dry with bandits. Police and military, it's a little bit different. But all of them, I use the same type of mentality for me. I don't do anything wrong. I don't do anything wrong. Police, military have no cause to move to violence. The bandits, I've even talked about that. I don't even use violence with bandits. I try to help them. Their back hurts. Let me help you. You know, so this is what I do. Now, if your back doesn't hurt and we're insisting that you want to harm me or make me feel like I'm going to be harmed, then we'll have to move to the self-defense. So, but this is what I'm saying is, don't get misled. Just because you have a weapon doesn't mean you can make the weapon work. Now, I understand most people, they do come up against maybe one or two people for a threat. Okay, like I say, in my world, it's a little different. Man, I mean, there's a dozen of them or more. And so that's why my tactics, you hear about my tactics and what I talk about, they're pretty much set up for lots of people. You know, so, because like I say, I showed you my exercise that I do in the morning. And during my exercise, like I say, I do Tai Chi. And through that, I fight 8 to 12 people every morning. So if I'm approached by 2 or 3 or 4, damn, that's a whole lot easier than I did earlier this morning. This morning I fought 10 of you, you know, and you only brought 3 or 4 of you now. Hey, I can handle that. So that's why I do the exercises like that. And that's where the self-defense comes into. Like I say, when I get into a self-defense situation, I never have 6 or 10 of my friends, and we're all armed, you know, and 2 or 3 or 4 try to victimize us. You know, that doesn't happen. That's why police, military, and bandits, gangs, that's why they work the way they do. They always outnumber, they're always outgunned. You know, they always make sure the advantages are on their side before they do anything. And that's when I talk about police, military, they do their roadblocks. I mean, they don't say 5 miles ahead there's going to be a roadblock. They don't tell you this stuff. They want the surprise as you come around the bend, bammo, there's the roadblock. And see, so it's always set up where they have the advantage. That is not self-defense. Now, once they have the advantage, and like I say, a conflict starts on something like that, they try to justify it in their minds that, well, we're just defending ourselves. No, you went there. You did that. So you're not really defending yourself. You started this from happening. Imagine if the roadblocks in the United States were manned by Russian or Chinese troops. Would you consider them just doing their job? No, they're not. That's why I get upset. A lot of the communities in the United States, they take their law enforcement people, they get them from a neighboring town, and then they bring them into your town and they do it. Just because they're not Russian and Chinese, they're still not from your community. And so they're, like I say, they're mean and nasty. The book says this and this is the way it is, procedure says I can do that, and so then they tend to escalate things where it shouldn't be. That's why I tell you that you need to think on self-defense and don't be misled by others that just have a gun and think they know what self-defense is all about. That is why few police I train. I don't train very many policemen at all. Military, I do teach a lot of military. And the reason is the military at one time, they were doing roadblocks or they were doing something in a foreign land, and they knew what they did was a tough thing to justify, and they don't want it happening to them. And that's why they seek training from me. So that's why I do a lot of military. Now, career military, well, I've even done some career military people too. So it it depends on the military people. But I say law enforcement, I usually have a hard time. On all three of them, police, military, and the bandits, they all take orders. They all do what they're told. Now they get better as you go along. The bandits, they don't really do real good. And then the police do a better job, and the military, they're probably about the best in following orders. That is why most people find military less threatening than law enforcement. Military, they'd rather not get involved. They'd rather just look good and not get involved. So that's why it tends to be a little bit better like that. And military doesn't really do good face to face. Like I say, they're a different type of thing. But anyway, so use caution when someone in the military or police is trying to show you how to shoot a firearm. No offense to them, but they may not know what they're talking about. And and they make it a whole lot more complicated than what it is. I know that. And that's because they really focused a lot on safety and discipline. And you need safety and discipline somewhat when handling a gun. But during a self-defense situation, safety and discipline kind of goes away. So you have to know where to draw the line, and when that line is drawn, that's when you do the self-defense. So anyway, I hope I did a better job on explaining the difference between self-defense and violence. Okay, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com.